Cats needed that last-second shot against Santa Clara to even get there. Iowa State had 4 starters in double figures, beat Kentucky without their second leading scorer and their top rebounder. But it wasn't just Kentucky that struggled in the first weekend of the tournament. Other Blue Bloods, Kansas, North Carolina, all failed to make it out of the first weekend. And so there's a concern about these Blue Bloods, but which one is the highest of concerning? Is it Kentucky, Kansas, or North Carolina? Jay, what do you think?
There's no question it's North Carolina. And I'm saying this growing up as a North Carolina fan. Like, if North Carolina didn't have that logo, I'm not sure we'd be talking about them as a blue blood over the last 5 years since COVID. Relevancy is currency. And I can make a case that they're not a top 5 current relevant team in college basketball right now, which is crazy when you think about this is a brand that some of the most elite of the elite have worn, from Michael Jordan to Vince Carter to Jerry Stackhouse. I mean, the last time they had a top 5 pick was in 2005. Now they'll have one this year with Caleb Wilson. But let me actually put together a list. Stephen A., I know you like your A's list. Let me give you a list of my top 5 most relevant college basketball brands right now in the last 5 years since COVID. Number 1, UConn, back-to-back titles. Dan Hurley, a personality that extends and it kind of epitomizes what college basketball is. Duke, you can make a case, hey, number 1 recruiting class, 3 out of John Shire's 4 years, with another number 1 recruiting class last year. Back-to-back National Players of the Year, Cooper Flagg, Cameron Boozer this year. Kansas, I mean, you talk about conference dominance. Bill Self has won the conference regular season of the Big 12, the best conference in America, 13 years straight. 13 years straight. And by the way, going to have a top 3 pick in Darren Peterson this year. Houston, where does Houston come from? Well, Houston, since they entered the Big 12 in the last couple of years, have dominated multiple number 1 seeds. And by the way, a number 2 seed again this year in Houston, where they have a chance to compete for another Final Four. And then Kentucky, I'm just going to give Kentucky praises for the fact it's Big Blue Nation. It's the largest social media platform outside of Duke to pay attention to in college basketball. Mark Pope is struggling a little bit in year 2. They should have had a chance to get to the Final Four this year. They underachieved. But to me, I can make a case that Florida is more relevant of a program than North Carolina right now. I can make a case that Gonzaga is more relevant of a program than North Carolina right now. I'm not saying historically in the last 100 years, but in the last 5 years, Stephen A., you're damn right. I'm going to make that case.
I'll come around to your point about North Carolina after I say this about Kentucky and Kansas. Kentucky underachieved, but it was primarily due to injuries. You got this cat Quaintance and Lowe, who was supposed to be available. They only played about 3 games together. I get that. This is what they said. But go ahead, Jay. Did I say something? What's up?
I was going to say, S.A., is Jaden Quaintance is a hell of a talent, but he came into this season with an ACL issue.
No.
They gave him money knowing he was injured. So that's all I'm going to say. But you're right.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that they ultimately were injured. The issue with Kentucky is that you misspent because you spent about $22 million in NIL. And so because of that, you got to make sure this is a business now in college sports. If you're going to dole out those dollars, you got to make it count. It can't be on maybes. It can't be on cats that ain't available. If you paying them, you better make sure they're playing. Okay? And that wasn't the case with Kentucky. But the fact that they spent that much money in NIL and people were willing to come to Kentucky to play for Mark Pope, I think that obviously, like with that combined with what Jay said about their social media reach and whatever, we can't just dismiss Kentucky. They could easily return. Kansas is interesting, Jay, because you didn't bring up Kansas. They haven't been to the Sweet. They've come up short of the Sweet 16 for the 4th consecutive year. This is with Bill Self coaching. And now there's questions about whether or not Bill Self will return, even from Bill Self, because of his health. Now, he has said that he wants to return. He has said that he still has a passion to do this, but he needs to sit down with his family and make sure that he's healthy enough to move forward. That's not a good thing to hear. That's not a good sign. Every time I look at it, it looks good to me. But, I mean, damn it, we don't know. So if he's got questions about his health and how far he can go, then that's a different matter altogether. And so I understand it, because who the hell's going to replace him? And what are they going to do? Because they ain't Bill Self. So what you going to get to Kansas? So I would tell you that Kansas is the huge question mark, Jay. Having said that, I'm with you about North Carolina. For to me, a bigger reason than Jay even brought up. Duke is 8 miles down the road. Duke is right there. You're talking about what could easily be conceived as the best rivalry in sports, Duke, North Carolina basketball, okay? And I'm thinking about, I can't say enough about John Schreier. I can't say enough about him. This guy has succeeded. Mike Krzyzewski. And all we're waiting for the national championship from him. He hasn't won a national championship. Do you realize that's all we could say? Think about that. Who thought that when Mike Krzyzewski departed and John Schreier is the new head coach for the Duke Blue Devils, that we'll be saying, okay, where's the championship? But that's all we could say. I mean, when you talk about their success during the regular season, when you talk about their success during the conference tournament, there's no drop-off. This man has done a sensational job coaching Duke. That cannot be said about Hubert Davis. Now, last year was worse, but then he went out and got Caleb Wilson. So you got an All-American. They got two coming for next season, including this Cat Mingo that came right here on First Take to announce that he was going to the University of North Carolina. To me, the big concern with Hubert Davis is not X's and O's. It's not his coaching acumen. It's his recruiting, because you have to recruit against Duke. If somebody is interested in talking to Duke, they're supposed to be interested in talking to you. It can't be Duke or nothing. The fact that it's Duke or nothing, and when we look at marquee dudes, they want to sit up there and go to Duke, and they ain't thinking about North Carolina, that is a problem. But there are people in North Carolina that are saying Hubert Davis should stay because he's got two All-Americans coming in next year. Okay, fine. I'm good with that. I don't want the man fired. Hubert's a good man, and I think he's a good coach. But you got to be able to recruit against Duke. That, to me, Jay, is the number one criteria for anybody who wants to be the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. And let me make some news out here. And boy, is he going to be mad at me for saying this. But I don't give a damn, because he's my brother. He's just going to have to get over it, okay? Me and Kenny Smith go back a long, long, long ways. And Kenny Smith is phenomenal, winning awards with Barkley and Shaq and all of that stuff. But this is not old news. There are two jobs that I believe are tailor-made for Kenny Smith. Years ago, before Leon Rose arrived, I was an advocate of Kenny Smith, Kenny the Jet Smith, being the president of basketball operations for the New York Knicks. Okay? Just like I was an advocate of Mark Jackson being the head coach because of his roots in Queens and St. John's and all of that. I believe that if Hubert Davis were to be gone, it should be for one reason above all else, that Kenny the Jet Smith is named the new head coach for the North Carolina Tar Heels. Because you can't convince me. People don't know this about Kenny Smith. They don't know how connected he is to youth basketball throughout this country. His knowledge about the players, we all know how brilliant his knowledge is about the game of basketball. But on top of that, his roots in North Carolina, who he was, the Kenny the Jet Smith out of Archbishop Malloy in Queens. And don't tell me he wouldn't be able to recruit. Kenny Smith walk into your living room, he could talk your son into coming to North Carolina. I'm telling you that right now. Now, don't get mad at me, because I'm not advocating for Hubert Davis to be fired. I know Kenny Smith don't want that. I know he wants his man Hubert to stay there and all of that stuff. They got love for each other. That's what North Carolina is. But I believe that the best option for the University of North Carolina, again, I'm hoping Hubert Davis keeps his job. But if I was running it, and I had a chance to get Kenny Smith, that is the condition under which I would let him go. Because Kenny Smith, coaching North Carolina basketball, that would be special. That would be special. Remember, you heard it here first.
I don't disagree with you on Kenny. I think, I agree. Look, John Schreier is about to have the fourth #1 recruiting class in his 5 years.
That's right.
Like they have another #1 recruiting class next year. This kid, Darren Ripley, he's the truth. So I don't disagree. I think one of the things happening down in North Carolina that they have to make a decision on is, do they want to stay in the family or do they want to go outside?
They're never going. I'm told, Rasheed Wallace told me this years ago. He said, never think about North Carolina going outside of the family. Okay. They ain't doing it. Okay. He said that to me.
Let me ask you something. if North Carolina can get Danny Hurley, would you go outside the family?
Come on, Danny Hurley
If
didn't even
North Carolina could get Nate Oates
wanna-
over Alabama, would you go outside the family? I think that style and tempo would be great to see in Carolina blue.
I feel you, but I'm telling you this right now. Kenny Smith, there's no way, in my opinion, that he's sensational. I really am impressed by the guy. There's no way he has the top recruiting class in 4 of his 5 years at Duke if Kenny Smith is at North Carolina. Somebody coming to North Carolina. If Kenny Smith is the head coach, somebody come. I'm telling you, they'll go back and forth. You're not, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, Kenny Smith's gonna be so mad at me for bringing because he don't want to do that. I want this. I want this. I believe that Kenny Smith, Kenny the Jet Smith, you put him at North Carolina, the eyes of the basketball world would be on Duke, North Carolina. What back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Josh ain't out recruiting Kenny Smith every year. I promise you that. I promise you that.
Jay, I hear what you're saying and going a different direction, but I don't know that Danny Hurley would leave UConn for that job. Like, he didn't even want to go to the Lakers. The Lakers gave him all that money and more, and he didn't want to go.
Why I want to coach LeBron in his last year of the season where I have no control of a system? No, I'm not going to.
He shouldn't be leaving UConn for UNC. UConn is a big-time program, too. No, you don't need to go to North Carolina.
I hear you, but North Carolina, come on, man.
Stay in stores.
That may be the biggest basketball brand
in the same season. Don't get beat twice by Pitino in the same season. Deal with that.
That's a different conversation.
Deal with that.
That's a different conversation. But if you're Danny Hurley, you're considering, I love UConn. UConn ain't North Carolina, S.A.
I feel
you just told us it wasn't relevant.
2 national championships.
In the last 5 years. You can't wake up that bear. You can wake up the bear.
Please, come on. You don't need it.
If they stay in the family, it feels like Kenny the Jet Smith might be the only option.
He should be the only option.
But if they stay in the family, I think
Cuban Davis, unless Kenny Smith wants the job.
There you go. Speaking of the Lakers, coming up here